Okay. How do you think students learn?
I think all of them, especially in middle school, learn differently. So I feel like a big part of middle school is helping them figure out how they learn. So I try to do myriad different activities. Like some kids really latch on to graphic organizers, and then I had a few students this year who couldn't get past the boxes. But once they had the chance to free write, they were fine. Some kids really learn by seeing the end product first. Some kids, that's really overwhelming. So I think a lot of middle school is giving them a bunch of different ways to do it, and then they pick one. I feel like elementary school is very formatted, and then high school is a lot more open. So to get them from one to the other, they need opportunities to learn in different ways.
What are the boxes you were talking about?
So for graphic organizers, I try to break everything down, like for writing a paper. I can show you an example. So for, let's say, Christmas Carol, they do their first literary analysis. So, completely without bias, in-text citations, context, elaboration, all those fun things that they just love so much. So they'll have one box for the introduction that's broken down into the different pieces. So I give them, a guiding question. What's the main theme in the book, and then they have to answer that in a sentence. And then how would you introduce the background of the book, and then they answer that in a sentence. So for some kids it really, really is nice, because then by the time they're done with the organizer, all they're doing is copying and pasting onto a Google Doc, adding transitions, and then we go into revisions. Some kids, they can't, their brain does not work that way.
Okay.
I would say for the majority of 7th graders it works. For some of them it really, really doesn't. So they need, it takes a while. But some of them learn in more of a free form. And so once they realize that that's okay to do, as long as we're still getting to the same point, that's okay.
All right.
Because they have a hard time breaking out of that elementary shell of we all have to do the exact same thing on the exact same day. So.
This sounds like a weird question, sorry. What do you teach students? So other than just reading skills as well.
I tell them a lot that middle school is a lot of how to do life. So, we do, obviously, I teach language arts next year. I'm adding in social studies, so you have all that content. But a lot of it is how to do life. So how do we respectfully talk to each other? How do we respectfully disagree? It's they love to do debate and they love to do argument, but they don't understand that most of what they're doing is just yelling.
Okay.
And so we talk about the difference. One thing I teach them is how to write a respectful email. And we do that week 2 because they have to know how to communicate with people. And if you're asking a question, you have to actually put a question mark. So we talk a lot about problem solving skills. We talk a lot about coping skills. We have a SEL curriculum, social emotional learning. I don't know if you guys have talked about that.
Yep.
I was actually on the curriculum team for it, so I built the curriculum. So we do a lot of that. So relationship skills, time management, responsible decision making. I try to embed that in with the content too. So, and then obviously where does a comma go? How do I figure out what to do if I got home and I don't know what my homework is? Or what do I do if I got to school and realized that I didn't do it? I try to tell them from day one, it's always really important if I find out there's an issue from them rather than finding out about it later, when they're not turning in a project or I get a parent email.
Yeah.
So a lot of middle school, I feel is how to do life.
Yeah.
we
did SEL yesterday as one of our sessions for Golden Apple. So that's what I was I didn't know. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I can show you guys. We have a whole curriculum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd love to see that. Yeah, actually. Yeah. How do you feel about teaching?
Oh, I love it. There's days when, it's always exhausting. It's exhausting in a lot of different ways. And there's days where, you can feel defeated. And there's days where you can just feel I saw the light bulb go off in a kid's brain. But I've wanted to be a teacher ever since I was 7. There was a brief period where I thought I could be a baker. And then I realized that I burn everything. But I love it. And I feel I'm not supposed to be, I don't want to be their friend, and I shouldn't be their friend, but it is important for them to feel respected.
Yes.
And I think that's huge, especially in middle school. I like middle school.
Why did you go into English and social studies?
So I love English. I've always loved to read. Well, when I was younger, I couldn't read, and I told my mom that it was fine. But then my teacher put me in a one-on-one program, and then I love to read. It took a while to love to write, but I do. So that was always the game plan, was English. And then originally I wanted elementary school until I got into high school and started babysitting. And then I figured out that young kids are not for me. It takes an extremely special person to teach elementary school, and I am not that person. And then I thought high school all the way until I did a practicum in college, and they put me in a junior high, and I just was obsessed. And then I switched. And then honestly, social studies, I mean, I like history, but to be honest, you really need to be marketable in more than one content because getting a job for one single content isn't realistic anymore. So actually at the end of my second year, I was riffed. So the position didn't exist anymore. So we went down a whole teacher because our population we went down two because our population was going down. It's called a reduction in force. And so another teacher, he was in his first year, I was in my second, and neither of us could teach anything else, so you're not tenured. And I was very fortunate that someone transferred and I got picked back up, but I picked up social studies to be more
just in
marketable.
case.
So,
wow.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited to teach it. It's going to be really fun, and I have a great co-teacher, and the curriculum's awesome. But my honest answer is because you need more than one content area.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. I didn't know that
like
all happens in.
It does.
Yeah.
And that's another thing that they don't necessarily talk to you about. And I went to school in Iowa, so I had to take additional classes in order to be able to get my Illinois license. And so I took extra middle school classes, and I took like sign language as my foreign language, and nobody really told me you should have another core content. And so I took online classes, and I took 4 classes, 3 over a summer and 1 in a fall, so it was fine. Most teachers are still in classes. But yeah.
Oh, what school do you go to for online?
So I took online classes to get my social studies certification this first summer after I graduated. Oh no, excuse me. The first summer after my first year. And then the following summer I started my first master's program. So I took that through St. Francis in Joliet, and that took about 1.5 years. So that was my first master's, and I finished that in August of 2017. And then in January of 2018, I started my second master's. That one's in person at Concordia.
Oh wow!
So I don't go all the way to Concordia in the city, but yeah. So I'll be done with that at the start of next summer.
Oh wow! Oh my goodness!
So.
Oh my! I didn't.
No,
that
okay.
seems like so much because you're also teaching in the morning.
Yeah,
and
so
then
I'll do my homework sometimes in supervised study too, and especially with my first master's, it was all about teaching in tech. So it was right as we were starting our technology pilot. So I had a bank of computers, and so my kids were using them. So I would ask if I could use their homework as an example, and they got really excited. And then sometimes, if I'm writing a paper in supervised study and they're writing a paper in supervised study, we'll talk. It's fun. So yeah, it works.
Oh wow! Okay. How do you keep going when something is challenging?
A lot of different things. So support, I think, is huge. Support from colleagues is huge. Support at home is huge. And recognizing that, like anything in life, it's going to get better. And it's like a typical middle school thing. Something small gets blown up and it seems like it's the end of the world, and in reality it's probably not. So, it took me a while to realize that in my first few years, because it seems like every problem is the end of the universe, but there's probably somebody in your building who's dealt with it before, and you kind of just need to realize that a question isn't stupid. Like we tell the kids, you just have to be willing to ask and willing to try different things.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't work out, it's okay. And everybody gets through it. So, and nobody's going to explode. At the end of the day, if I had fewer than 3 kids cry and no one burst into flame and we're good, it's a good day.
What do you do when you know that the students aren't getting the subject?
Again, you can do a lot of different things. So I do my 3 levels all the time. But every now and then, actually a lot, you'll get the kid who puts themselves in like a teacher or a middle group who really needs to be in a small spot. So if it's a small group of kids, I'll work with them, or I'll give them a slightly different task, but we're all in small groups, so they don't necessarily have to know. So you can do that with like color coding. You can do that with like if we have a read period, using some of that. We sometimes will do stations, like every group meets with me, and then I just do something different with each station. there's supervised study, but then if a kid's in music, they don't have that time, so we have to problem solve that. And then we're very fortunate to have a lot of resources, like resource teachers.
Yeah.
So, and they're always very willing to jump in and help.
Wow.
So it kind of depends on what they're not getting. Is something they're not getting something that they really, really need to move on, or something that they're not getting, like a smaller thing that we could address down the line, or did they not get it because they didn't really try the first time? We talk a lot about skill versus will.
Okay.
So is it a skill problem and they have some sort of deficit that we can build on, or is it a will issue and like they just kind of don't want to?
Okay.
So, or is it the way that I explained it? So it kind of depends on the situation.
All right. Wow. Okay. What is going well in school? I guess summer school. Like what do you love about this group? Or...
well, I mean, our classes are so different because, it's not. I can't think of a better word than remedial. Some of them are, and that's such a harsh word, but some of them are meant to be more of a review, and ours, we have more flexibility for them to get to try new things. And I do love that Jennifer and I can, change things day to day and add new stuff in. And like Monsters is a 3-year cycle, so you could take it 3 years in a row and do Frankenstein, Dracula, Witches, and then, it doesn't matter where you jump in, you can do all 3. Same with Shakespeare. We did Taming of the Shrew last year. I think they did Twelfth Night the year before. So you can jump in at any point. So like it doesn't seem like so much drill on them. Which I think is good. I think they look forward to coming. But I think, the review ones can be like that too. I just haven't taught them in years. I taught a review called Themes in 5th grade literacy. So kids going into 6th grade who need a review of 5th. I taught that a few summers ago. Actually, no, like a lot of summers. Now that I think about it. So that was good too. I just haven't done it in a long time.
So this class is very different from your normal school year class, right?
Not necessarily, because it depends on which class. So, like last year, for example, I taught a block of honors, a block of regular, and then a split block of regular. So your block is 2 periods. So if I'm teaching a full block, I'm teaching both periods myself. If I'm teaching a split block, like you and I share the same kids and share the class. So next year I'm teaching a block of honors, which is most of these kids. And some kids are in our PI Plus program, which is like our ultra honors. They're all housed at one school. So I'm teaching PI next year, the honors, and then I'm teaching a block of co-taught. So it's there's kids with IEPs, so I have a learning behavior specialist in there with me. And then I have a period of co-taught social studies. So I'll have kids, usually my same co-taught LA kids. And also I have another LBS in there with me. So it really just depends. Like when I taught 6th grade, I taught basically all honors and then 1 period of regular. So it just depends.
All right. Oh, wow. What is best about who you are as a teacher?
I think I bring a lot of humor to class. And I try to make it an environment where the kids feel comfortable and they can talk to me. I always tell them you don't have to delve out your deepest, darkest secrets here, but like I want you to feel comfortable when we're in here, and we always talk about our weekends, and I want to know how their games went, and and then at the same time, since I do bring humor, when I get upset, if it happens, it's powerful. So I tell the kids I have 2 huge no-nos. One is being disrespectful to an adult or someone who's just trying to help you, because if they're bad to a sub, that is a bad thing for me. Or if someone, like if Timmy understood it and Stevie didn't, and I asked Timmy to help Stevie, you cannot be rude when he's trying to help you. And then the other one is making fun of somebody for something they can't control. So that could be, any number of things. So I think laying that stuff out is big, and they know that respect is really big in my room. So I think that's good.
What keeps you interested in teaching?
Learning new stuff and doing new things. Like I switched grade levels every 2 years for a while. So that was different. Curriculum continues to change. The people I work with continue to shift, and the kids are always different every year. So like I'm excited now that this is my first time doing the same grade level for 3 years, but I'm throwing in social studies. I've never done that, and I've never done co-taught before. So there's always something that's a little different. I don't think I could ever and do the exact same thing every day, that would be a lot.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
All right. I think those were all the questions I had for you. Thank you
Glorious.
so much.